Hi guys, and welcome once again to Curated Logic, where we try and up your brain game. Today we're going to be focusing on escape rooms. For those who have watched my videos, I have mentioned that I used to work in an escape room. Escape rooms have been something that I have done for a long time, whether they've been on the computer when I was quite young in the early 2000s, to now when I go and do them in person like so many of you do. I have always loved them, loved the puzzles that they present most of the time, and the logic it takes to get out of the room. But often, having worked in an escape room, I've realised that people go into it with not much of a plan or not much of an idea of what to expect and how to approach the room. So I'm going to be doing a series of videos on this topic. Starting with today's topic, just a general overview of hints and tips to beat an escape room. Getting your team together is dependent on what you want to achieve from the escape room. So I understand that there are people out there who just like to play board games, do escape rooms, play mini golf, whatever, to have fun. I get it. There are people like that. I am not one of them. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind losing, but I don't understand why you would play a game not to try and win. I don't understand why you would play a game not to do the best you can do, to challenge yourself. That's what I want from life more than anything, is a constant challenge, a constant growing and developing. And escape rooms for me are a great outlet for that. So, for me, I have chosen the people I do them with primarily on the fact that they will take them as seriously as I do. The person I mostly do escape rooms with is my partner. We usually do them just us two because as you get more and more people in an escape room, you often miss out on being part of certain puzzles, and we both like to do as much as we can. The other reasons why we are a good match is because, one, we both take the escape room as seriously as one another. So at the beginning, when we're looking at things, we can trust that the other person is looking at things as seriously and as logically as the other person is. And two, we have complementary knowledge or traits. So, for instance, I am generally good with numbers and word puzzles. I've played a lot of Scrabble. I started an advanced maths degree. I like that type of puzzle, and it really just works with my brain. I think in numbers. That's just how I always functioned. He, on the other hand, thinks more visually. He's a photographer, so of course he would. And this means that when we come up against a visual puzzle, I might get it eventually, but he generally has the key that really gets us into it well before I do. So, number one, pick a team that you will mesh with. That the reason behind you doing the escape room is complementary, but your abilities within the escape room are also complementary, but potentially opposite. Okay, so usually when people talk about tips for escape rooms, the first thing they say is to look at everything. Which I agree with. You need to look at everything in a room. You need to assess everything. But most people take this as meaning go hell for leather. Get in there, fast and furious, and just take in as much information as you can, as quickly as you can. I'm not in that camp. I'm the type of person who will want to go into a room and take a breath and slowly but methodically look at each piece of information. This is because in the past, when I have gone in fast, when I have gone in excited and energy right up, I found that although I may have looked at everything, I haven't really taken in everything. So later on, when I needed something that I should have remembered from the first room, I will often forget it. So the minute or so extra it will take you to look at everything slowly, I feel is well worth and well made up, plus more, later on when you are trying to figure out puzzles that you need something that you saw initially. I said it in tip 1 and I meant it. Look at everything. I cannot tell you how many times I've been in an escape room, stuck on a puzzle, and then after a few minutes realized I just hadn't opened a box. And there was the piece of the puzzle I needed. It's really infuriating because it's not a matter of you being let down logically. It's not a matter of, oh, that puzzle was difficult, or I could never have got that because I didn't know this bit of information, or something like that. It's literally, I didn't open a box, which everyone can do, basically. So it's just really irritating. So look at everything. Obviously, do so within the parameters that are set to you by your guide, the company you are working for, your game master, because you need to stay within those parameters. So anything that they say don't lift or don't touch. But apart from that, go for gold. If you want to look at everything in a room in the shortest amount of time, but still do it methodically, the only way you're going to do that and be quick about it is splitting up. You have to have faith, as I said, that your teammate is doing it the same way you are doing it. But at the beginning, go to opposite sides of the room and look at everything. But in order to do that, you need to do number 4. I think probably the most frustrating bit about being a game master when you're watching a game is when someone has something, they found something, or they've realized something, and you've heard or you've seen them get there, but then they just haven't communicated it properly to their team. Or they've communicated it to one person, but that person wasn't really listening, and then they didn't tell the like, it's really frustrating because all the pieces of the puzzle are there, but it's just a matter that one person hasn't told another person. So communicate, and communicate well. I will say that sometimes in the past, I have not been great at this. Once you have done a few escape rooms, you get to know what escape rooms are about, and you get to start to understand what will and won't be a part of an escape room. So when someone who's quite new to the escape room genre comes in and suggests something that you know is never going to happen and they're never going to do, it's really easy just to dismiss it out of hand. But if you do that, you can sometimes also be dismissing a little other nugget of information that is buried within what they're saying that will actually help you. That, plus the fact that dismissing people in the room, as I have learnt, can be detrimental to the whole energy of the room. And then once you start sucking that good energy out, it's really hard to get it back, and you just get off track and lose steam for what you're doing. So listen to everyone and try everything to a reasonable extent. It is really easy to be doing a puzzle and get so far with it that you really just want to finish it yourself. You don't want to get someone else's input and for them to see something that you didn't see, and then you feel like a bit of an idiot. But get over yourself, because that's only ever going to be detrimental to your game. If you are doing a puzzle and you reach a point where you just are not getting any further for a couple of minutes and you have no idea why, but you think your logic so far has been good, get new eyes on it. Get them to have a look. They might suggest something that you haven't even tried, or they might see a little mistake you've made. We all make them. So you really just need to not be proud and involve everyone or as whoever is around when you reach a dead end. Okay, so if after you've got someone involved and you still haven't got there, walk away from the puzzle. Walk away from it. Give it 10 seconds or so and go back. If there's nothing else to do, go back. And start again. Pretend you haven't even seen the puzzle. That is hard to do because your mind wants to automatically put in place all the logic you've already thought of in your head. But try to ignore that and try to go, okay, that didn't work, so there must be something else. There must be. And try something else. Even if your original logic was correct in some way, trying something else will often expose that. It will often show you that, oh no, I just missed this one step, or oh no, that means that, not this, or whatever. So really just take a step back and look at it afresh, and it makes a world of a difference. It sounds so easy, but it really does make a world of a difference. Okay, so this is something you should have been doing from the beginning. I didn't put it in the beginning because there is a part of it that you can only really do in the middle anyway. So I decided to put it at number 8. But always, always, always split up your objects. What I mean by that is 2 things. First of all, you should be splitting up at the beginning your objects into things you think would work together. So have a pile of objects that you haven't used yet, and in that pile put mini piles of things that you think will be used together. This just makes it so much easier when you come later on to find the puzzle that those things are going to be used for, to just pick them up and go for gold. With that, if you have used something, create a completely separate pile well away from that unused pile. This also means that if your communication is lacking during the process, which, to be fair, it might be, there's always something that people are going to miss that you've said, or that you might have missed that someone else has said. But if you have an used pile and everyone knows that that is the used pile, if they see something in that pile, they know it's been used. And for most escape rooms, you used it once, you're not going to use it again. If you do use something twice, most escape rooms will tell you, but it's better that it's in the used pile anyway, just so you know that you've already done one thing with it. This is probably my favorite tip I would give whilst working in an escape room, because not only is it a great tip, but it's also a tip that most people, even after I've given it, never heeded. So what I mean by working backwards is, most people will go into an escape room, look at a puzzle, try and solve the puzzle. Once they've solved it, they will go, where does that lead? But often people will be stumped. They will reach a point where they've got a couple of puzzles but have no idea how to do them, or which one to do first, or where things go. So rather than looking at the puzzle and try to work it out and just go from there, it's often good to look at things and work out what the end point is. What is our end goal? And work backwards. Because sometimes you will find that your end goal isn't a one-step jump to the puzzle you're working at, even though you think it might be. It might be a few different jumps. And by figuring out where those jumps go, you can then work out what needs to be looked at first, and even sometimes how to look at that thing in a better way in order to solve it. Okay, so you will always get told this at the beginning of an escape room, or at least almost always, I believe, that forcing things is not helpful. Not only will it potentially break some of the items in the room, which is just bad for the escape room, and it will annoy your game master and the company, but also it can damage your game. I've been in situations where a team member has brute forced something or broken something in order to get the information, and then spent ages looking at that information as if it was going to give them something amazing to work on, when the whole time we were missing a part to help us understand that information that we would have solved if we had just done things in the correct order. This is really the biggest pitfall of brute forcing anything. You just think you are further than you are, and you get information that ends up confusing you more than helping you. Okay, so this is similar to what I said before about taking a step back. But in this case, what I'm really talking about is not fixating on something that is just not working, and there is very little logic behind it for you. Because what it really means is that probably you haven't got enough information to solve the puzzle yet. Trust in yourself. Trust that you would understand the puzzle more if you had more information. Obviously, there are some times when you can tell you've got everything you need and you just haven't solved it yet. So that's when I say step away, get someone else to look at it and all that. But if you really feel like you're missing something, there is something you are missing, don't fixate on it. Go look at something else. Because you're just going to be wasting time when you could be spending time finding that next piece of information you need to solve that exact puzzle. This is an obvious one, but also sometimes a not so easy one. You will find that sometimes in a game, the story you were told at the beginning by the game master and the story you were told during the game is really necessary to some of the puzzles. Sometimes you won't. Sometimes the story will be just a red herring and you're remembering all this information that you absolutely do not need. But you are always better off to try and retain as much information of the story as you can, just in case. Truly, don't be afraid of taking hints. I have never met a group who has been able to finish every single escape room they have ever done without any hints. Everyone needs a hint now and then, and that's just because all of our brains work differently. We are all going to interpret things differently, which means those who are making the puzzles are all going to make puzzles differently. So everyone's going to need a hint at some point in their escape room career. Also, the game masters don't think less of you. If anything, most of the time, people take hints when they are so close to solving something and all they need is a little prodding in the right direction. And as a game master, as a past game master, I would always think, well, how smart were they? I knew they were thinking, God, we're such idiots, but really I thought, no, you've done such a good job. It's just this one tiny little thing that I've had to say that has clicked your brain into place. So don't be afraid to take them. No one will think less of you, and it's more important to get out of the room than it is to do it perfectly. Okay, so this is probably a personal one because the escape room I used to work at was on a strip of Sydney that is renowned for its nightlife. So every now and then, on a Friday and Saturday night especially, you'd get drunk patrons coming in trying to solve puzzles. It just doesn't match. It does not mesh at all. No matter how smart you are, if you're intoxicated enough, you're going to have trouble. You just are. It's really frustrating watching people try and do these and be drunk. Also, because there is a tendency to accidentally break things. But more than that, if you want to defeat an escape room, and that's why I assume you're watching this video, get enough sleep. Hydrate. Don't do it drunk. Seems simple enough. Okay, this goes back to what I said before about choosing the right team. I have seen so many times people dragging friends or relatives into an escape room, but you can see that those friends and relatives really don't want to be there. It's just not their bag at all. And whilst I understand that sometimes you are limited for choice who you can take to these type of things, it will make for a better experience and you are more likely to succeed if you just wait a little bit and find people who are similar to you in their enjoyment of this type of thing. Because when someone is in the room and they are not enjoying themselves, when someone is in the room and they are just not into it like you are, the whole energy of the room is just brought down, and your energy cannot help but be brought down. And you do things slower, you do things less methodically, you just almost are thinking about being outside the room but not getting out, just being outside after, and it just being done, so you don't care anymore. And that is no way to do an escape room and to succeed. So, like I said before, choose the right team and make sure that team are people who will enjoy the experience, or who you are pretty sure, will enjoy the experience. Obviously, most escape room tips focus on what to do while you're in the room, but I also think you need to have a little look at what to do when you finish the room outside of the room. So what I mean by this is you don't always know how you're going to react in an escape room. The first time I did an escape room with my partner, I had done some before, so I had simply assumed that I was going to be the same as I always was, but with my partner, we got really close to the end and it looked like we were going to fail. We didn't, we actually won, but it looked like we were going to fail. And rather than helping with this last intricate little puzzle we were doing, for some reason I decided to look at the time, realize we only had a minute left, and start just ranting under my breath. Well, probably not even under my breath, I think I was actually saying quite loudly that we were all dead and that we were all going to die. Totally unhelpful, totally out of character, but that's what came out. And then outside of the room, once we had done, after a little bit of ribbing, and actually no, constant ribbing to this day, we discussed how you kind of have to leave who you are in an escape room and think of that person as a different person to who you are outside. A little bit. Obviously, if you're rude or if you're aggressive or if you're mean or anything like that, I don't think that's acceptable, but you can have certain personality traits that stress, and it can be stressful. Stress and competition can trigger, and you just don't know exactly how you're going to react. So allow that in yourself, allow a little bit of leeway if you do act a bit strangely, and allow that leeway for others as well. Not only will that be nicer for others, but it will also mean that the group you form will be a tighter connection, and you will be able to go and do more. You won't hold on to little things that person said or that person said. You can hold on to your group and move from room to room and become better and better at solving them. So yes, they are my tips for beating an escape room. I hope they've been helpful, and I hope you guys get to actually do an escape room sometime soon, whenever the laws that are in your country are lifted sufficiently for you to be able to do them safely. I will be releasing more videos on escape rooms, focusing on the different types of puzzles you will get in escape rooms, hopefully to help you understand what you're in for if you haven't done them, or make you better at them if you have. Until then, I hope all you guys are well. I'll talk to you soon. Keep that brain active and have fun. See ya.